You got it. It says it's streaming.
Yeah, it's you'll hear like a notification. It's
It says it's streaming.
Yeah, I have a little notice saying it's doing it.
okay. Now we are live on YouTube. So you can
Okay.
go ahead and everything.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'll read the boilerplate. The Town of Southborough special meeting of the Library Board of Trustees, December 1st, 2020, 12 p.m. via remote, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, GL 30, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Library Board of Trustees will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner: southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will put on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. All right, it is now 12:03 and the meeting is called to order. The first order of business on the agenda is to approve the expense for the facade restoration project. And I'm wondering, Janet, if you can speak to that since you're our go-to person.
Sure. Everyone got the
first.
quote for the two different.
Wait a second, Amy, what is it?
We need to do attendance orally.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Where's our thing? Okay. Trustee Davis,
Here.
Ekberg,
Here.
Landry present, Maney,
Here.
Reagan,
Here.
Trustee Yazdani.
Here.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, Janet.
Yes. So Ryan, listen and correct me if I'm wrong on this. The letters at the top of the library that say Southborough Library are made of three different pieces right now. And the original quote and the original plan was to just replace the central piece of it. But I don't know whether some of it isn't in pristine condition, whatever. So we thought both from a consistency standpoint, because so that the three pieces would be the same color, and also just because it would be new and sharper, that all three pieces needed to be done. Am I getting this right so far, Ryan? Okay, he's nodding.
All right, I had to unmute. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Trying to get Mary in the meeting too, because I'm also the host of this one. So it wasn't Janet was right, but just to clarify, it wasn't a piece in the center. You're going to hear construction noises in the background, so sorry about that. But it was specifically the S, the O, and the U, which had eroded over time. So like from a perspective of it's center in the building, but if you're looking at sort of the sign, we're really talking about the left side of the etched Southborough Library above the roof.
Okay. So, so we wanted to expand and do both pieces anyway. And that would cost more than the original plan. So what we have in front of us is quotes for limestone versus precast stone, or however you call it, sandstone, they keep referring to it as. And so whichever way we went, it's higher than the original plan. So this amount that they're quoting is less the amount that was already built into the budget. So There's aesthetic reasons for going one way or another. There's also, I think, a historical reason, perhaps, that leans towards the limestone in terms of historic preservation. But those are the two options before us. In terms of the financial, what's available to us, we have still, in the warrant article, it specified a certain amount of money out of that $1 million for a contingency. Oh, there we go. Did everybody get that in the mail? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. There was a certain amount specified for contingency in there. And so far we haven't touched that. I have a question of whether or not we would actually need to involve CPC in touching that money. But of the other money that we have available, because our bid came in so much lower than we initially budgeted, we still have 33, almost 33.5 left without going into the really designated contingency. So we have the money available for either of these options. And I guess I'll throw it out for questions, or unless Ryan wants to add something at that point.
Okay, as I understand it, if we went with the precast, we would not need to vote on this because it's under the 25,000 that we just passed at our last meeting as being the cutoff for a vote on an expenditure, right?
Well, that's true, but I had also said that if there was something that was an aesthetic issue as well, I would feel more comfortable going to the board.
All right.
And I think Ryan did as well. This is it's going to look different than it does now. If you've seen the stones, we've got a best guess on the color, and it's a little lighter than what's there currently. So
as I
Will
understand it, go ahead.
will it darken over time though, since it's a natural stone?
it will, but I don't know how 50 years to get to the other color. It's hard to know, but yes, it will
I
darken.
think it hurts to be lighter. It kind of highlights it that way, the name of the building. So the lightness is not a problem for me.
Janet, I'm confused. There were 3 pieces and you're talking about 2.
No, 3.
You're talking about doing all 3, obviously.
Yes,
So there's consistency. Okay.
right. They've said right from the very beginning that any piece of limestone I don't know the very beginning, but since I've been involved, any piece of limestone is going to be different from what's there because it depends on where they're quarrying it and whatever. And it's even hard for them to give us a sample because they do the samples, but that might be from where they were digging 6 months ago.
Right.
So the actual piece may end up being a little bit darker than what we saw. I don't know if it can get much lighter, but.
So as I understand it, when it's up on the building, little microscopic vegetable things start to grow in the pores of the limestone, and it does change color over time. But my sense of it was when I looked at the 2 samples that the precast was so homogeneous in the way it looked. It didn't look like real stone to me. Real stone had little gradations in it, just tiny little ones. And to me, the limestone looked much more attractive because it was limestone. It wasn't completely the same look all the way across.
Mm-hmm.
So I vote for the expenditure for the limestone.
So I don't think the camera really does it justice, but I do, as I have this whole time had the samples at the library for people to review. And again, I think just sort of the somewhat oppressive lighting in my office right now is not helping with the view, but I did, each of you actually did have the opportunity last week to come on an individual basis and compare the stone samples. So at that point, I think we didn't have the pricing. We got that after. So we thought there was going to be about a $10,000 price difference, which it turns out is not the case. But it is over the $25,000 amount that you guys just agreed to. So I'm going to pop that back up on the screen. I think everything Janet said is accurate. I know that many of you did, in reviewing the samples, you noted there was sort of a almost like a glossy, glittery finish on the cast stone that makes it look, you know, not as, I'm not using probably the right terms, but not as, I mean, it looked not like the stone sample, the real stone sample. It looked kind of
Sparkly.
Artificial.
Yeah, it did. It looked
artificial.
It was
I guess.
sparkly,
too, it
and
was
they said
too,
that would not go away over time.
it was too
Even if it wore
even.
down, that's throughout the cast stone, so it would stay sparkly.
Yeah.
Sparkly, yes. As I understand it, Ryan, the architect supports using limestone.
Yeah, that's correct. And Mary is joining us now.
Oh, okay.
And
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mary. She's on mute.
Sorry, I don't know why that wouldn't connect. So where are we?
we talked about how everybody, each individual trustee had come and reviewed the samples.
Okay.
We kind of reviewed the price difference,
And the money available.
the money available. And I think at this point, do you want to have further discussion, or does somebody want to call for a vote?
I'll move that we support the expenditure and the amount of, what was it? Approximately $26,000 to
Hold
use
on.
limestone.
Let me pop it up so that we can,
Have the right number.
yeah. So the
Ryan,
26,266.
I don't want to do the exact number because if it turns out to be $25 more, then it won't be what we voted for. So can I just say approximately $26,000?
I would recommend voting on the number because that locks the contractor into this price.
Okay, good plan. All right, I move then that we,
Marguerite.
yeah.
Sorry, before you get to that, I just, maybe just for the people who might be viewing this after. So Ryan, you had mentioned that this price is much more than we thought, but looking at the two options, it looks like the option for limestone is $6,461 more than the material cost for the precast, correct?
correct.
Okay, and just the reason that this is more in general is because we chose to replace, or we're choosing to replace the 3 full sections of the sign as opposed to just the first part of the sign, which was our original intention until we found that there was more damage, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm all that before we voted on anything. And I guess I just also wanted to mention that, Ryan, looking at that conditions assessment and restoration recommendation document you reshared with me, I mean, the point of this was for preservation and restoration. So for me, that, helps guide my decision to probably confirm what Marguerite is going to motion now. So I just wanted to point that out.
And that really is where I've come back to. I do recognize that the precast or cast stone material is cheaper, but it is not. What we're trying to do is sort of historically restore the building with as much original material as we can, while also making it sort of structurally viable. So this, like Janet mentioned, is more of an aesthetic piece. It's the sign. That was really, the sign is sort of important to me on a personal level, because this is what initiated the whole project for me several years ago, was seeing the erosion of the sign and then wondering if there was some sort of vehicle for us to be able to correct that. So, I mean, it's nice that we're having a discussion about the sign specifically. That I didn't think we would get to that point, but I don't think the cost, the cost that we're talking about is because we're not replacing the section of the sign that's damaged. We're talking now about replacing the whole sign. So given that, I think that this, and the cost is within the current project scope, I think that this is, my recommendation is to go with this, if you all agree with the limestone.
Okay, anybody else want to speak to it?
I'm a voice in the wilderness here, but I'm going to vote with everybody else. But I just would remind everybody that the contractor, interestingly enough, prefers the cast stone in part, I guess, because the timetable for availability is better, and the contractor believes it's longer lasting. and the color conformity or uniformity will be better over time. However, I think I'm the only one who initially felt that way about preferring the cast stone, but I'm very happy to line up with everybody else who are behind the limestone.
So this is Mary. I actually disagree with the contractor that the cast stone would last longer. Your limestone has been there for over 100 years. This is the first signs of damage. Limestone is a natural material. It's going to have different color variations. Replacing the whole sign will keep that color variation just to the sign, and it will age the same way as the columns and the entablature, where cast stone is going to age differently. It's going to react differently to acid rain and pollutants that are in the air. So I think the limestone is the best way to go.
Thank you. Is that technically a lintel?
No, a lintel is a supporting member for an opening. It's a structural term. This is an entablature because it's carved, can be called a frieze sometimes.
Okay.
It's a dressed piece.
All right.
And the timeline, I believe that it's still coming in well within the rest of the timeline. So it's not extending the project from my understanding. Is that right, Mary?
We're hopeful not. The quarries are a little more interested now that it's the entire entablature. We had trouble getting samples when it was just the SO. The quarries don't want to, they'd be coming out of Ohio or Georgia, to ship one little piece up here, come up here and template. So the contractor worked diligently to get a local sales rep for that quarry to come out and help us.
And really, this was a product of cleaning the building. It was power washed to see. Really, we've noticed a little bit more wear in the building, I think, than we did before, because we can now clearly see some of it. And I will say that while the A in library is not as bad as the SOU, it is worn away on a level that I did not really see, I would say, in my many times looking at the sign. So there's significant I would say, not damage, but erosion, like the weather has kind of hit that sign in particular, and a little bit more than just the original area I identified. So I think for that, Janet noted that too, is that in seeing the sign, you can kind of see more additional pieces. So some of the sort of erosion on some of the stonework on the side that was more cosmetic on the side of the building, that stuff we're not going to be able to correct. That's just time and age. Because I think the sign, like Amy pointed out, is sort of a focal point, and it makes sense to, since we've got to fix part of it anyway, to do the whole thing so that it will last another 100 years. Is my hope.
Also, that used to be covered with ivy. I'm sure the ivy didn't help at all. I'm sure the ivy
It probably
ate
did
away a lot
not.
of that.
Library
Yeah.
part was covered with ivy?
Yeah, so that we're going to make sure. I don't think the ivy was historic. It's not going to be a restored part of the building at this point.
Oh, okay.
I know a lot of people like the ivy, but it's not good for stone and it's not good for brick. And
It's terrible, right?
we
yeah.
want the building to last. So.
Okay, are we ready to take a vote if I move? All right, I move that we approve the amount of $26,266 to purchase limestone for the entablature. Did I say that right? For the Southborough Library. Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, and I'm going to take a roll. Trustee Davis,
Aye.
Trustee Ekberg,
Aye.
Trustee Landry, aye. Trustee Maney,
aye.
Trustee Reagan,
Aye.
Trustee Yazdani.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Any other questions related to this? All right, then my other question would be, we received, Ryan, you sent the project budget report. Do we need to talk about that today, or should we wait until our next meeting?
Mary, I might have to call you after. I guess they're using some sort of material on the roof and the staff are concerned. So I'll give you a call after we've closed this meeting. So with the budget, I think we can touch base about that at the meeting on the 15th, if Mary can join us.
Yep.
And sort of do a review of where we're at now and
Okay.
where we may potentially go. And then Janet and I can kind of reach out to the CPC and see, it is possible that some of the contingency amount may need to be used. At this point, we don't know. But, I think we're getting to the amount of money where we may have to dip into that a little bit. So I think it would be good to give the CPC a heads up and then have conversations about that.
Okay, so we will discuss that on our next meeting and then involve the CPC after that, or do you want them to be part of the meeting?
I think Janet and I are just going to reach out. We don't have we're not at the point in the budget where we have anything specific to ask them yet.
Okay, all right. So we'll move that ahead. So do we have any other business for this meeting or shall we adjourn? Okay, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, and what time is it? 12:23. Okay, Trustee Davis,
Aye.
Trustee Eckberg,
Aye.
Trustee Landry, aye. Trustee Maney,
Aye.
Trustee Reagan,
Aye.
Trustee Astani.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. The meeting is adjourned and I will see you at our next meeting, which will be on the 15th.
And what
Great.
time? Noon?
Noon.
Yes.
Yeah.
15th at
Okay.
noon. Yep.
Okay,
All right. Thanks, everybody.
thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Okay,
I hope
bye.
everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Mm.
Bye.
Mm.